So good morning, students. So this is the continuation for our spreadsheet to Thunkable app that we have done. So this is one way of view of using a cloud-based system, right? Your data is actually stored in cloud. It's not on your phone. So which also means that anyone who has the app, if you configure it to connect to your Google app, your spreadsheet, whatever change data happens, it will automatically reflect here also, right? Of course, we have only done the home and info screen. If you see on my screen here, we have one more screen. We will do step by step. So the first thing that I want you all to do is, earlier you didn't have this go to map, right? This button. So I want you to now drag and drop a button to the screen. Add a button. So below. So under the home screen, we already have the data viewers list. And now you're going to include a button. So this button is for us to navigate to the map screen. We have not created the map screen yet, so just include this button. Name the button as map button home, and then the text you can actually put go to map. Then the color you can adjust however you want. Okay, after you have added the button, make sure you rename them back and change the text. Now go to your second screen, which is info screen. Under this info screen, earlier you only had the next button, right? Add another two more button. So the home button, and also again you have another go to map button, but make sure you have to give them a different name. So here you see I give the name map button, but this map button is at info screen. So you know that this map button is actually belongs to the info screen. So when you add these two buttons, home and also go to map buttons, make sure you adjust your margins. You can adjust your margin so that the button won't be too close. So you have the home button and also map info screen button. So why we have actually included the home button? Remember previously from the home button, when you click the data viewers list, any one of this list, it will go to the info screen, right? In the info screen, when you click next, it will keep on showing the next item. But then once you are in info screen, can you go back to home screen? No, right? You're stuck in that screen. So we're just going to include a button which allows us to navigate back to the home screen. And of course, this is go to map means if you want to view the markers of all these places, then you're going to click go to map. So now you have option. You can navigate between pages easily using this button. Is that okay? So after you have added these two buttons, now do you see this plus sign here? This plus sign, this is to add a screen. So when you click this plus sign, it'll ask you to select a screen. Now, if any one of you have any problem, please raise your hand. So you're going to create from blank screen. So you click next. So it'll add a new screen, right? You'll have screen 1. So this screen 1, you rename it back as your map screen. So you rename it as your map screen. But I already have map screen. I've already created map screen, so I'm just going to delete mine. Yeah. Which one? Creating the new screen. Click on the plus sign. Then create from the blank screen. Then click next. It'll add a new screen. So in this new screen, you rename it back as map screen. Okay. So you rename it as map screen. So your map screen will be empty, not like mine. So the map screen you will have empty. So what are the components that you want to actually add in the map screen? Is you under the components, if you type map, you will see there's a map component here. Drag and drop the map component onto the screen. So the height and also the width, you can actually choose the fill container. So initially it will actually fill your entire screen automatically. Okay, you don't have to do any settings for now. And then you add another button below it. So whenever you add the button, if it comes on top, what you should do, in the component tree, you drag and bring it down. So this button is home button, but this is from map. So I rename it in such a way so I know, because there are two home buttons, right? One in the info screen and one in the map screen. There are these two home buttons. So I want to make sure that this home button is home button from map. So have you added your map and also your home button? Good. So now let us add some functionality to the block. So let's go back to the home screen. We want to actually add the functionality for the go to map. All right. So let's click on the block. This is the current blocks that you have. So we want to actually add the functionality for the map button home right. So when you click on, when map button home is clicked, sorry, go back to design. Which design? This is what the previous, sorry? This one, if you look at the data viewers list, this one, under the data viewers list, since you asked the question, this one, you see currently we are looking at the property of the data viewers list, right? Do you see this one? List item layout. Are you looking? You asked the question, but you're not even looking at the screen. Sorry? That's okay, but I'm explaining what your question. So if you're not looking, then what's the point you're asking the question? It's okay, put it on charge first, I'll wait. Put it on charge. So in the property of data viewers list, of course the data source we have already done earlier. Table referring to the sheet 1. If you want to view the data, you can actually view the data by click here to view the data. I don't know why having some issues in viewing the data. When you actually click the view data, you should be able to see your table here. And then you see this list item layout. This list item layout, there are few types of layout. How do you want each row to look? So do you want to just have the title, or do you want to have the title with subtitle? Do you want to have the image with the title, or image with the title, subtitle, image, title, subtitle, text? Or you want to have like this, image, title, subtitle, and the big image with a description like this. So these are the various layouts that you can actually have it there. But the one that it shows is this one. To be able to show what we are representing the title with. The name of the places, right? What is the subtitle? The description. So depending on how much of material that you have, you can actually accordingly use the layout. So if you have more materials to show, then you can choose this layout. So accordingly, you can see the title, subtitle, bigger picture, and description. So if you have more things to show, you can actually do that. Whatever that layout that you select, say for example you select this one, it will have this data binding. Data binding, that means where you want to actually bind. Where do you want to get the image property from? This is image. Where do you want to get the title property from? This is from place. Where you want to get the subtitle property from? This is description. So if you choose other type of layout, you will have more or less data bindings. Is that okay? Do you answer your question? So shall we go to the blocks? So under the blocks, we just only added this one, the map home button click. And what we want to do when the map button home is clicked, we want to navigate it to the map screen, right? So navigate comes under, there are already this existing functional blocks, right? If you look under control, if you click under control, there is this block known as navigate. So we want to use this navigate. So put it here. Where do we want to navigate it to? Map screen. So if you click down, it'll show all the possible screens. You want to go to map screen. Any questions? Any comments? Now, can you check in your Thunkable Life whether are you able to go to the map screen? Let me know what do you see in the map screen. So when you open the map, by default, you'll see San Francisco because that's where Thunkable is developed. So in order for us to now, we are not in San Francisco, right? So whenever you are doing certain app, you can actually set where you want the map to start showing at. So in order for you to do that, you go back to design, you click on map screen, you click on map. So do you see that there is latitude and longitude? So before you play around with the latitude and longitude, I want you to try to play with the zoom. Try putting in some positive value and try putting in some negative value and see what happens to the screen. Don't put too big, it's actually very sensitive. So you put values like 3, 2, 4, 5, then show me what is how the map looks like when you change the zoom level. So because all these places are nearby Unit 10, so you open Unit 10 map. So we have Unit 10 here. Where is decentrum? Decentrum, why decentrum is not showing? Decentrum should be somewhere here, right? So what else we have? We have actually Unit 10 library. We had decentrum. What else did we choose? Okay. So let's say when we open the map, we want the map to show somewhere around this location. So you can just click at the center of the map. When you just right click on the center of the map, do you see this coordinate? Copy this coordinate and paste it here in the latitude and longitude. So you have this, it's copied. It's difficult to see sometimes. Just open Notepad. So you take the latitude paste the latitude, get the longitude, paste the longitude. So on your phone screen, you'll be able to see, but it's a bit zoomed out. So let's say if you want to be like this close, then maybe you can zoom in by 1, for example. You need to check on your phone how much the zoom actually affects. So I'm trying with zoom 1. Okay, it looks a bit okay. Let's see if I try 1.5. Let me just check with 1.5. So depending on whether you're happy or not with the zoom level. Okay, more or less I'm getting something like this, 1.5. So you're able to see unit 10 and also the places. But if you want to change, so that means now when you launch this app, it will start showing this location. Is everyone okay? So that's the setting that you do with the map screen. Then you can actually play around with the zoom level. Now, can we go back? Okay, since we are already in the map screen, let's assign functionality for this home button. So go to block. So same like how we did earlier. Home button is clicked. Where we want to navigate it? To home, right? So when it gives the functionality, when you click, it'll go to home. So when you try, you should be able to go to the home, and from the home button, if you click go to map, it'll go to map. So is it working? Okay, good. Thank you. Nice to have feedback. Similarly, do you know that you have added 2 buttons in the info screen, right? One is to go to home, one to go to map. So can you also assign block for that? So we have the home button, and we also have map button. So assign the navigation accordingly. So now let us focus on this info screen block. Do you notice that there is these 2 blocks which are actually exactly the same? This one, this green and purple, this green and purple. Do you see that they are exactly the same? So you all are learning C programming, right? Did you all learn about function? Creating functions. So whenever you have a repetitive sequence of code, instead of repeatedly writing them in the main code, you can actually take them out and assign them as function. So if you are a later point of time, if you choose to become an embedded systems engineer, and you're planning to do developing operating systems or things like that, you have to write programming in a way, in an optimized way. So one of the techniques of you writing and code which will optimize the memory space is by usage of functions. When you use function, see now if you have 2 blocks, if these 2 blocks you write in the main program, it occupies double of that space, right? Let's say you take out and you use only function. So instead of occupying 2 equal amount of space, now you're only occupying 1. one amount of space, and you can, whenever, how many times you want to actually call the function, you can keep on repeatedly call them. So in that way, when you create function, it actually will optimize the memory space instead of you repeatedly writing in the main program. Whatever that you write in the main program will block or book the entire memory space. So here we are going to see these two blocks, they are the same. So instead of writing like this, occupy so much space, let us create a function. So do you see that under the existing block there is the last one known as function? So click on that. So we are going to choose the first block because this creates a function with no output. We don't need any output. We don't, when you, I'm sure that you have actually learned function. There are functions that doesn't return any output. There are also functions that return some output. So we're going to choose the first one. So drag and drop here. So when you drag and drop, do you see here, this do something, right? This is what you will be giving your function name. So basically, if you see these three blocks, it is actually used to display the places, right? So we can name this function as display places. So whatever that you write here will be the name of the function. Have you all given a name for the function? So now what you do is you remove from any one of this whole three blocks, and you put it inside the function. So now it becomes like this. So under this function display places, you have these three blocks. So here, this part here is we have actually taken out the whole three blocks, right? So we're going to replace it with the function. So where do you get the function? Now, because you've given the name, so if you go for function, do you see there's a new block? Display places. So you're going to take this and put it here. Same thing with this one. Take this one out, make sure the last line, put it back. This whole thing you can delete. So now do you see you actually optimize the space so much already. Then you can duplicate this function. You can put it back here. So now does it look much more neater? You use the function here, display places and display places. And this is the function. So only one. You only define the block here. So now it looks much more neater. Doesn't look so complicated. Is that okay? It will work the same. There's no changes. Yes. Which one? This one? Earlier it was here, right? Earlier it was here. So I just took the whole thing and put it here. Because I've removed here already, I need to include the functions, right? Because you have created this new display places, you'll be able to see a new block, display places. So this is what you want to drag and put it here. This is also you duplicate and put it here. Is that okay? Okay, now since we have actually done this info screen, did we add the buttons? Oh yes, we have already added the buttons, right? Now the only thing left is, hold on. So now home screen is done, info screen is done. Now let's go to the map screen. So in the map screen, we have two components. One is the button, right? Button is already done. Now we actually want to do the map. So now in the map, we actually want to create the marker. We want to create the marker, pin drop, the pin drop marker. So we want to actually, if you look at the component, do you see this map screen? Map screen component. So if you click on this map screen, do you see that the first one, that is when map screen opens? So we want to use this block, sorry, when map screen opens. We need to say, when you are navigating from home screen or from info screen to the map screen, the moment the map screen opens, we want the map to show the markers. Now is it showing any marker? No, right? So that's why we're using the when map screen, when the screen open itself, we want to show all the markers already. Is that clear? So in order for us to actually to be able to show the markers, what are the information that we need to actually capture first from our spreadsheet? What information do you think we need? Definitely we need the latitude, we need longitude, right? And we can also, what we can do, we can actually add the place name and also the description. So when you actually run your cursor over the marker, it actually will show the place name and also the description. So we need 4 items. So in order to store these 4 items, we need to have the variable, right? So if you look at that, let's see, here's my spreadsheet. So if you look at your your spreadsheet, so if you want to actually store all these items, what kind of variable do you need? We need a variable that will be able to store a list of items, right? So we are going to, let's look at variables. We're going to initialize variable. So we need 4 variables. So let's duplicate. So all these are app variables. We are selecting them as app variable. That means the variable only will be active as long as the app is open. When you close the app, the variable will be cleared off the memory. So let's say the first variable name that you want to give is latitude. So this we are naming it as a latitude list, because from here we're having a list of items, right? We're having a list. It's not a single variable. You're having a list of variables. Here we have 3 lists, right? So we're going to name the first one as the latitude list, the second one as the longitude list, this one we name as the place list, and this one we name it as the description list. All okay so far? So all this app variable, we have to initialize it. So we want to initialize it as, if you click on the list, there is empty list. If you initialize it as a single variable, then you won't be able to store the list, right? So we are going to create an empty list. So we can create duplicate. So all these variables are list variables. So you are creating an empty list. Is everyone okay? So now when the map screen opens, one of the first things that you want to do is you want to actually fill these variables with the values from here, right? You want to fill all these values, this one, and this one. You need to capture it into the variables first. Then only you will be able to use the variables to display it on the map. So we are looking at variables, right? So we're going to use the block set app variable. So how many variables do we have? 4, right? So we're going to duplicate. So is this app variable correct? Is this correct? Place ID. No. We have to change to this one. Let list, long list, place, and also description. So latitude list, longitude list, place list, and also description list. So be very careful with the variables. These are the variables that we want to actually capture. Where are we going to get this data from? Which block should we use? We've done this before, right? Which one? Where we can get the data from? Which block should we use? Which block has the name data? Yes? Data sources. So under the data sources, you can see that, do you see this one? List of values. There's a block that able to get the list of values. So take and put it here. You want to duplicate this. So list of values, make sure of course you only have one file, right? So places of unit 10. In sheet 1, in default view, this is default view. And this one, where is the latitude? Latitude is under, yes? You don't have data sources. If you didn't add the data source earlier, then you won't have data source. So now you have to make sure that you get the data from the right place. Latitude is from latitude. Longitude, this is from place, this is correct. This is description. So you have to make sure that you change this correctly. Otherwise later when you go to the map, you won't be able to see. So what is this block doing now? This block, it is taking all those list of values from latitude, it is storing into the lat list variable. It is taking all those values from the longitude, it is actually storing in the long list variable. It's taking all those places names, it is storing into the place list variable. It's taking all the list of description and storing it in the description list. So currently, how many lists do we have? How many rows? 4. In mine, only have 3. It's okay. You have 3 or 4, doesn't matter. So now we have actually stored all those latitude, longitude, place and description, because these are the items that we want to use in the map. Now what we have to do is, now we have to iterate. Iterate means first get all the first list item, because the list variable they're storing in terms of list, right? So you want to get the place name from the first row, then you want to get the description from the first row, you want to get the latitude from the first row, you want to get the longitude from the first row, from each one of this variable. So you actually have to do a for loop. You have actually learned for loop, right? So let's see, it's under control, I think. Yeah, this one. So what is your I? Your I is the loop variable. What do you do with the I? You know you all have used for loop, right, in C programming. So you have the loop variable, in this case is I, and what you do with it, you actually initialize it, right? So here the index always starts with 1. Then you have the upper limit, right? Up to how many times you actually want to loop, the maximum number of loop. Then you have the increment or decrement, right? So this is the for loop. So you want to start with the count I, you want to count the loop variable I from 1. So here the index, unlike in C programming, you can start with 0 also, right? Here in the list variables, the first index is always 1. So take note of that. So that's why we are starting with 1. Up to, what is the maximum number that we want it to iterate? So this one, some of you have 4, I have 3. So what's the value that we should put here? 4. Suddenly you decided to add 2 more, then what happens? You have to go back and change here, right? So that's not a very good practice, right? It's not efficient. So we want to actually write a code in such a way it will be dynamic, so that even though you add, you don't need to do anything here. So for that, there is one option where you can actually get the length. Where is the length? Yeah. Under the list, do you see there's a length? Yeah. Length of. So take this one, put it here. This one you can remove. Length of. So we actually have 4 variables here, right? All these 4 variables have the same length or not? Yes, all of them have the same length. The length of 3, right? There, 3, 3, 3, 3. So the length is same. So which variable that you want to choose? Since all 4 of them have the same length, you can choose any one of the variable. So let's say you take one of the variable and put it back here. This one, please be very careful. Currently it's showing app variable place ID. Is this the same length as this one? No. You have to make sure that you choose any one of this. Lat list, long list, place list, or description list. So let's say if I'm choosing the place list. Why is it important? Because it also shows other variables. So make sure you select the right variables. So what it means is the length of app variable place list, which is this one, right? This is place list. So what happens is when you use the length of, in the future if you plan to add, how many you want. Do you need to do anything here? No need. It will automatically adjust. If there's 5, what is the length of it? 5. If it's 3, what is the length of it? 3. If it's 10, what is the length of it? 10. So this one increment by 1. So now what is it doing? It is actually iterating from line to line. From first line, in each one of this variable, you try to get all those values. Is that okay? Do you understand why we actually do like that? So now we want to actually update this data into our map. So in order for us to update the map, do you see the map screen? So you see this call map, the purple color block. So you just drag and drop it here. Sorry, not this one. Not this one. Go to map screen. No, marker. I think it's further down. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Not map screen. Map 1. Map 1. My bad. My mistake. Map 1 is the map component. So map 1, that is this call maps add marker. So we want to actually add marker. So use this one and edit here. Internal error generating code for blocks. So you add this call map ones to add marker. You all managed to get this? So this block will actually add the marker. And what it needs latitude, longitude, title, description, and pin color. So pin color, I just leave it as red. So you'll see the pin color there. So now where do we get this latitude from? We're getting from the variable list, right? So you go under the list. In list get this one. So we're going to use this in list. So we try to get the number of items in the list. So this one you add here. This one you can remove. So this one you can duplicate because the same thing we are going to get it from all the list. We are going to get all these items from this list. All these variables are list variables. So latitude, from which variable that we're going to get the latitude from? So let's put it here. Latitude we're getting from the latitude list, right? Duplicate, put it here. Duplicate, put it here. Duplicate and put it here. So the latitude items we want to get from the list, longitude from the longitude list, title. This one we want to get is the place list, and description is description list. Okay. So this call map is inside this for loop. Do you see that? That this map is actually inside this for loop. So another thing that we need to change is this one. Latitude in the app variable at least get number. Which number that we want to get? This one, the number of the rows is now controlled by the I loop variable, right? So we want to actually change this with the variable I. So because if we put number 1, then it's static. You won't be able to change. So now we actually put this as I. So what happens now? In the for loop, count from I from 1 to the length of app variable place list, which is 3. You increment it by 1. So what happened? What is the value of I now? In the beginning? 1. So you'll call this function, call map add marker latitude. In the list app variable like this, get number 1. Longitude in the list, long list, get number 1. Place list, get number 1. Description, get number 1. So what it does, it takes the first one, number 1, number 1, number 1, number 1. And it will plot, it will add the marker to the map. Then what happens? You increase by 1. So I now becomes 2. So latitude in list, get number 2. Get number 2. Get number 2. Get number 2. So which means you'll get the second one. Number 2, number 2, number 2. Then you increase by 1. 3. Then you actually check, get number 3, get number 3, get number 3, get number 3. You get all the third one. This one, this one, this one, this one. Then you increase by 1, becomes 4. Has it exceeded the length of the app variable? Because it's 2, the length means until that value. So if it already exceed, it actually no longer, it comes out of the for loop. So here automatically, if you have 3, you have 3. If you have 4, you'll have 4. You have 5, you'll have 5. Now try to check in your map, are you able to see all those pin? Red color. Then if you put your finger on top, do you see the place name and description? So this is how you add. So you have created your own marker on the map and your own description. Okay, so I'll stop the recording.